Okay. Oh, and my mouse wants to disappear, which of course it wants to do that. There we go. Only when I'm like doing double streaming this one. Enough looking unprofessional. Let's get into this. If Discord, wowzers. Yeah, Discord really does not like. Discord does not like me having my mouse like that. Okay, let's jump into one more time. Yeah, it's just because of the screen share. It's really weird. Okay. Let's get into this. The mouse is alive. People are here. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you all for coming. It's a minute of me fumbling here, so apologies for that. But let's get into the panel. And if you guys all have any questions, again, one more time, just jump into the chat. Let me know in the Discord. But yeah, let's get into the Atlus 2021 fan panel of excitement and questions, because there are so many questions. My Steam library is prepared. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Needs a couple more games, but having P3, P4, and P5, not a bad start. Alright, so here we are with our fancy slide animations. The Atlus 2021 fan panel. I'm your host, Spencer Presley. I am part of a weekly podcast called Shin Megami Tensei Network. You can follow us on Twitter, find us on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify, Google Podcasts, stuff like that. If you are a Atlus fan or just want to basically have a podcast that is as regular as weekly can get, this is that podcast for you. You are actually listening to it live now. This is episode 209. So just to put into perspective how long I've been doing this, started in 2012, so we've got a bit of tenure to us, please. So, yeah, let's get into talking about some of my favorite video games by one of my favorite publishers and developers. But first, a little bit of history, because this panel was actually meant for last year. Yeah, so I was planning on doing this at Naka-Kon 2020, and this is the in loving memory of the Atlus 2020 fan panel. And yeah, so I'm going to go through all these slides here. We're going to kind of talk about each one because no one really got to experience that panel unless you were either at TaioCon 2020, and even in which case this changed from that version. But this version specifically for Naka-Kon 2020 never actually saw the light of day. So let's go through that and kind of talk about where things moved, where they changed, and whatnot. Because let me tell you, 2021, not a ton of news, sadly. So shoutouts to anyone in chat who knows what this is. This is Tokyo Mirage Sessions Sharp FE Encore for the Switch. I'm not going to talk about it a lot. I'm just going to say, do you love Atlus games? Do you love JRPGs? Do you own a Switch? You have nothing stopping you from playing this as long as you have the system and money to afford it. Please play this game. One of the best soundtracks of all time. One of the most crazy battle systems, and just such a blast to play. A lot of people missed it, and it came out last January, so that was a fun one to kind of talk about there. Yeah, even if you've played the Wii U version, this is easily the definitive version. So, just to put this into some perspective for our next one, this is what's crazy. I was making this a month before, for the panel, a month before Persona 5 Scramble came out in the West. At the time, we only knew it was going to be called in Japan Persona 5 Scramble, The Phantom Strikers. It just released last month, finally, a whole year after its Japanese release, and it was called Persona 5 Strikers. But it was just so funny of, like, at the time, all I knew was it hadn't been announced. No one really knew what was going on with it. Everyone was kind of like, okay, so we know it's going to come. Why hasn't it been announced? Blah, blah, blah. But it was so funny to, at the time of recording this, I had no idea not only how long it would take for this to come out, how big of a deal it would be when it did finally come out, and how crazy well it's been doing sales-wise. So if anyone out there has been playing Persona 5 Strikers and likes it, just let me know. Whether you're playing on PC, with Steam, PS4, PS5, Nintendo Switch, It is such an awesome game. Do not let the people telling you it is a Musou game scare you off. Just because it was developed by Omega Force does not mean it is a Dynasty Warriors-like game. It's just published by the same people and similar developers, but they're huge teams. It is definitely way more in the action RPG than just straight-up action button mashing game. So yeah, Strikers came out last year in Japan, this year in the West, and what's even crazier is as of like 2 days ago, we just got the North American sales numbers for this, and what's really, really funny is that Persona 5 Strikers is already, and to be fair, this is with only 2 months into the year, the 9th best-selling game in the United States of right now, which is just kind of crazy to think of, the fact that it's like, okay, yes, there's not been a ton of huge games in 2021 this year, but still, like, to sell more in 2 months than how many copies of, like, GTA or Minecraft and, like, these other really, really big franchises. And even in just the month of February alone, it was the 3rd best-selling game of the month. And just really, really did a great job. You know what? I'm actually going to fact-check myself there. I want to make sure it actually was 3rd, because that's one of those dumb things of... Okay, yes. Was the 3rd best-selling game of the month. Just had to double-check that. I know no one would really, really care if I got that wrong, but just one of those weird, like, fact-check things that, like, I'm sure my brain would bother me way more. But yeah, if anyone here has been enjoying and playing Strikers, congratulations. I need to put more time into my copy personally, even though I beat the Japanese one, but it's such a great game. I cannot recommend it enough. And considering how slow 2021 has been for Atlus news and releases, I really hope people are enjoying it. Next thing that we were talking about last year, and kind of funny because this really feels like it released years ago, Persona 5 Royal came out literally like right as the quarantine was happening for everybody, and I don't know how everyone else kind of feels about Persona 5 Royal, but for me, what's really interesting about this one was it released last year, people liked it, it's got tons of fans, it's just one of those things of like, it's not one of those games I'm hearing as many people kind of talk about in a really interesting way of just like, oh, okay, so, like, it sold okay, it had its fans, but it didn't really, like, light the world on fire. It didn't really chart that high, but it was also releasing in a much busier month with other games and whatnot. So, that was just one of those, like, odd sort of things of, like, okay, well, it's cool that, like, that's all happening and whatnot, but was there, like, a reason? Do you think it was just because of, like, everything going on? Really, really odd. Hold on here. I'm just telling Discord to be quiet so everyone doesn't get berated with message notifications. But yeah, Persona 5 Royal, big release, but I think you can definitely tell it kind of suffered from releasing the same game again 3 years later. Definitely kind of wet everyone's blanket there. We were talking also about 13 Sentinels, I Guess Rim. If you have played this as well, congratulations, you're one of the few Western fans who actually have. The game actually just recently sold over 400,000 copies worldwide, but a large amount of those are all in Japan and Asia. It's been a big game with word of mouth, which is crazy because it's already been out since 2019 in Japan, but while it's had a lot of success in the West in terms of fan reception, it's definitely not something that's kind of been universally, like, well-selling everywhere. So now here's a big one that might be kind of contentious for a lot of people, but what's really, really funny is at the time of me making this with SMT5, I was kind of in a weird spot of, okay, I say I'm in a weird spot with SMT5, but it's like, I'm in a weird spot with it, but I'm also kind of in the exact same spot. The only difference between me now and me of January 2020 making this panel was literally a trailer has come out in, I think it was July, there was like a Nintendo Partners Direct. But what's so funny about it was, yes, we saw a better look at the protagonist, we kind of got a bit of a better look at the theming of the world and whatnot, but we got no real, like, kind of idea of what's going on. It gave us a 2021 release date, but I'm definitely in the camp of, it's March of 2021, we've seen 0 seconds of actual in-game footage. It's just a guaranteed slam dunk of, like, there's no way this is actually releasing this year, especially with everything going on in the world, so As much as I would love to be playing this game as soon as humanly possible, I just don't see it happening. But for you all out there, I'd love to know, do you actually think SMT5 is coming out this year? What's your reasons why, or vice versa? And the next one, this one was just kind of a gimme of like Project Refantasy. It's being made by the team at Studio Zero who did Persona 5. I know that I know that like there is no news of this anytime soon. There's no reason it has to be. They're all being worked on at the same time, but it's like there are so many projects kind of floating around in the nebula. So you definitely have no reason to kind of rush this out. People are chomping at the bit for so many other games in the meantime that like I just want that team to take its time. It's doing something different. Go for it. We again, a good way to tell why it's not coming out anytime soon, it still doesn't have a name. So here we go. We're actually at the Atlus 2021 fan panel of rushing through the memorial. There's my dumb name, blah, blah, blah. So here's our only real kind of change. The only thing we really know this year is coming out, and kind of sad and crazy at the same time, is Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne HD Remaster. So this was announced at the same July event that SMT5 was announced at. And the only sort of like interesting part about this is it released last October in Japan and various other parts of Asia, but we still don't have an official release date in the West, and we still don't have an official release date in the West. And all we basically know is that it's coming. It's going to be on Switch, PlayStation 4. Everyone's crossing their hands. It's also going to be on Steam because why not? But another weird case of like, okay, the game's done. The voice acting's been done since last year. They're literally just using a translation from a PS2 game. It's an HD remaster. Where's the news? Now, you might be saying to yourself, okay, they just released Strikers. You don't want to release anything too quickly, back to back. Totally understand. Now, as we kind of inch closer and closer away from Persona 5 Strikers, it gets more into a thing of like, okay, but like, what's it hurt to update the fans? Because you've literally, they literally in the West have only ever seen a trailer, and then they joked about the fact that Dante is also going to be in the game, but it's probably going to be DLC. So it's kind of in a weird spot with the Western version right now in terms of like fan hype and expectations of like multiple reasons. One, there's no official release date. Two, there's still a lot of unanswered questions. Three, they've not talked to any of the fans. And four, and this is a big one, well, the game did receive pretty strong sales, especially for a PlayStation 2 remaster. Nocturne HD had lots of technical issues, and still does to this day. Just a couple of days ago, it actually just got a patch in Japan, that's third major patch since release, and there's still performance issues on every platform. This is a PlayStation 2 game that is almost 2 decades old, and we're getting frame drops on the PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, even with emulated. Even Nintendo Switch, there's nothing on paper that Nintendo Switch should really kind of have against it in terms of what it's running. This is a system that can run amazing looking games ranging from like Breath of the Wild to like even things like The Witcher 3. Like, so it's less of a case of they can't do it and probably more of a case of they had a small budget and kind of had to push it all through. Alright, so So another thing about this that is also kind of interesting is it's still getting updated. We don't have any news for it really in the West, but the one kind of glimmer of hope this game has in terms of news, hopefully, maybe, is literally next weekend is going to be a SMT concert kind of focused around the series, but it's going to be using a lot of music from Nocturne. Now, this concert has just been teased as, hey, it's a concert. It's not going to have game news. They haven't said it's not, but it's also, they've not really advertised it as this is going to be a big games news reveal. They've just sort of said, hey, this is a Atlus concert where we will be playing SMT music from the series, and there's a focus on Nocturne. That's about it. Of course, people in their normal ways are like, oh my gosh, we've got to, it's like, oh my god, we've got to get an SMT5 trailer here. They're going to reveal all these special editions, blah, 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 blah. And all of these things, and as much as I would really, really, really love for that to be the case, I just don't want people to get their hopes up. disappointed, heartbroken, stuff like that. So, concerts happening next week. I'd say best case scenario, you get a Western release date. Worst case scenario, which still isn't that bad because you still get a concert, you just get the concert out of it. So, bit of hope. If you're waiting for next week, there's a concert there. But, yeah, that's really it. And I want to open the floor to you all here. Now, I can speculate and kind of go off as well, but if anyone here wants to ask any Atlus-related questions, concerns, opinions from either this year, looking forward to the future, or even kind of talk about last year, go for it in the Discord channel chat of Cottonwood 1. But that's it. We've had Strikers last month. Nocturne is coming eventually. SMT5 is most likely not coming anytime soon, let alone no major real up. And that's all they've talked about. It's kind of odd. Now, at the same time, you gotta have to have the caveat of it is a pandemic still going on. A lot of development teams are probably kind of stretched thinner than they'd want to be, or kind of all over the place. And on one side, you can definitely sort of get it of like, okay, you're having a hard time, or you're kind of stretching yourself more thin than you'd probably like to be. It's one of those things of, if you're a fan of Atlus games and that's all you really got, I know we're only like a fourth into the year, but it's looking a little grim, especially when you consider what the next slide is, which is what this year is. So 2021 is the 25th anniversary of Persona as a series. So obviously Persona 6 is not coming out this year. We literally just got Royal last year. The Persona 5 team is making something totally different. So let's get down to this, guys. Let's speculate. What do you want for the 25th anniversary that seems possible? Now, if you noticed during this image here, the theming is ports. Give me everything on everything for everyone. I would love to know what you all think would make a great port, or which system would be a great kind of thing for that. Like, in the sense of, like, there are so many things that are kind of separated. Like, the Q games are all on DS only. Persona 3 still only on PlayStation 2 or PSP legally. All of those PSP remakes, Arena and Ultimax still only on 360 and PS3. I actually have a question that's kind of related to this that I just got by Dora Creechy. Says, do you think the Persona 3 PC port is going to be ported by the same studio who ported Persona 4 Golden or someone, or is it going to be ported first party? I can already tell you, Atlus, no way Jose is going to port anything on their own unless it was a full-on remake. Kira V, please give me, if you have any kind of reasons of, like, what you... Because I always think it's interesting when people talk about Persona 3 remakes of, like, where does it come from? Now, obviously, I know people would love it because it's just such a, like, super nostalgic and popular game. But I always find it so funny of, like, why is Persona 3, like, the Final Fantasy 7 or the Resident Evil 2 of the series? Like, why is that the one that everyone's like, oh my gosh, this one has to be remade, like, people need this, like, it needs to happen. Like, I remember I was actually talking to someone at a Hot Topic, and the worker there was like, oh yeah, like, they have to be remaking it because they did all those HD models for Persona 3 dancing. And I was like, man, I wish that was true, but there would be so much more work into going for a remake than just the models. But hey, the fact that anyone even remembers the dancing games besides myself, that just made me happy on its own. But as someone who, like, enjoys Persona 3, but definitely doesn't kind of have that nostalgia of, like, oh my god, it needs to be remade ASAP. Like, for me, I'm, like, sad where, like, if I had, like, a gun, like, one bullet in the gun, and it was like, you have to remake this, they'll, honestly, for me, the big ones are port Q and port the Persona PSP games to everything. Of just, like, those I feel like are the most kind of abandoned right now, of, like, modern systems and modern, like, games out there. Going back, though, to the other question I kind of brought up of Persona 3, who would port it? It would definitely be ported by another company. It wouldn't be done by Atlus. I don't think it would be done by the same team who did Persona 4 Golden, but I mean, that also sold so well, I wouldn't be surprised. The problem with Persona 3, and I use problems very lightly, is Persona 3 has this problem of what do you port? Like, the problem isn't that, oh, do people want Persona 3? The problem is, what version do you bring of Persona 3? A lot of people out there are always kind of wondering, okay, so is it going to be Persona 3 Vanilla, Fez, Portable? Are you going to make a new version that includes both? Are you just going to do Fez and not change anything? Are you going to do Fez but then actually have like HD assets and full party control like Golden or like Portable? So it gets a lot more tricky in that one, of actual work would kind of have to go into it without people complaining. Because as much as I would love for them just to port Persona 3 Portable and not do anything to modern systems, you'd have a lot of people complaining, I want the full game, I want Fez, I want the full experience, I don't just want X feature missing. Because the problem is, there's one, man, for someone who said it's not a problem, I'm saying the word problem a lot. The issue with it, with Persona 3, is there's no one version, there's not a definitive version of the game that doesn't either have a caveat or kind of an asterisk next to it. Oh my lord, I'm way too thirsty. Apologies. Also, thanks everybody for being in here on Saturday and not being at the Digimon panel. As much as I love Digimon, I was kind of worried nobody would show up. So, yeah, if you have any questions or anniversary expectations, but again, put them in the chat. So, besides Persona 3 Remake, another one is seeing... Oh, actually, yeah, we have another request for Persona 3 Remake as well. Combining the features of Portable, shoutouts to female main character, and modern graphics, having it with Fez. So the weird thing with, like, Fez is, like, it's not like Golden or Royal for me, where I actually enjoyed that story content. Like, Fez is cool in terms of, like, oh, they added a lot of nice quality of life features and cool stuff to it, but, like, outside of the music, I personally really don't care for the answer at all. I think the answer is, like, a cool story, but stretched out way, 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 way too thin. So, like, if they did bring out a remake of Persona 3, I think you could cut a lot of the answer out, and it would still be an enjoyable time. Thank you also for mentioning Persona 5 Arena, Persona 4 Arena and Ultimax, just because those games hold, like, such a special place in my heart, especially for, like, anime conventions. Oh my gosh. Like, going to Persona 4 Arena tournaments and just, like, having Ultimax fight nights for SMTN has always just been such a great memory of me, of, like, playing those games for hours and hours and hours on end. Like, I still have my fight stick from it. It's just one of those really special games that, even though I feel like it died way too soon, Ultimax is still a really, really special game. And if I ever got, like, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars where I could just kind of say F it money, I would definitely just find a way to bring a Persona 4 Arena and Ultimax cabinet from Japan, because they were arcade games over there, and, like, have one of those cabinets in my house, because that would just be the coolest thing ever. And yes, it is a crime that you cannot play Ultimax on anything modern or even PC. The ARC systems of today would definitely sort of make that possible. The problem is Atlus can't really seem to get ARC systems of today to really give any attention to them. You've kind of stolen my answer as well, mentioning Persona Q. So, Persona Q, I think, is in such a weird spot. And I've mentioned this before in the podcast, but it just bears repeating again. Persona Q, and especially Persona Q2, that needs a collection. Bundle both of those games, charge it for like $40 or $50, add voice acting in English for Q2, and I think that would just sell like hotcakes. Put it on anything new, put it on Switch, put it on PlayStation, put it on Xbox, put it on PC, put it on all of them. It's just one of those things of, the Q games are not bad. They have some of the best soundtracks in the entire series. Their only problem was the first game was one of the best-selling spin-offs until Strikers, but the second one just released at such a wrong place, wrong time. 2018, 2019, Nintendo 3DS only. You might as well have just, like, kind of buried it with the coffin as soon as it came out. And that's why, like, copies are getting so expensive now. Of, like, that game came out less than 2 years ago in America, and, like, copies are, I think, over, like, $60 now for just the game. Really interesting kind of suggestion here. They could go the Kingdom Hearts route with the answer and make it a cinematic compilation. The best part about that kind of issue with it, the best part of like if they made it a cutscene is that you know that people would still find a way to be like, oh my gosh, I can't believe, like they would just be like, I can't believe you did that. Like I can't believe you would cut out all the gameplay of just running around boring doors and boring deserts all day. But there would be those people, but. Oh yeah, and shout out to anyone who does actually have the collector's edition for Persona Q2 as well. I will say, really interesting thing I found out, kind of an odd tangent, but for whatever reason, the European version of Persona Q2, only a couple of regions got the collector's edition. It wasn't a worldwide thing, so that also probably didn't really help, but another odd thing is like... Like, the 3DS is region locked, so you already have so many other issues, and God knows Europe has been screwed over so many times with SMT games in the past. But yeah, so realistic ports, messages I've been bringing home for a lot of people of these are things I don't think are going to happen, but I think are the safest and going to be the best slam dunks. So, oh my god, Katie or Caddy, I'm so sorry that you had a hard time with that. Yeah, being able to miss out on that would have been really, really painful for a lot of fans. Especially because who doesn't want a little Koromaru plushie? So, realistic things to expect. I'm going to just say put it on everything, so I'm not going to be platform specific. Do a Persona Origins collection. You do Persona 1, Persona 2 Innocent Sin, Persona 2 Innocent Sin, Persona 2 Eternal Punishment. Have those 3 games from the PSP, have them all in English, give them all their voice acting finally, put that on all the systems possible, celebrate the 25th anniversary by actually finally going back and talking about where the series started. Like, I have so many times of, like, friends talking to me or friends showing me stuff from the series, and I'll see people being like, oh my god, I love Persona 3, 4, and 5, and it's like, you don't hear Final Fantasy fans saying, oh, dude, I love Final Fantasy 6, 7, 8, 9. Like, no, you're just like, I'm a Final Fantasy fan. Like, you don't see people so specifically kind of calling out that often. Now, and this isn't meant to be a way of like, oh, if you haven't played them, you're not a real fan. I would never say that. It's just one of those funny things of, you definitely can tell that because of their lack of accessibility right now, the earlier Persona games are just like, they're almost kind of like a fever dream of like, if you don't go out of your way to play them, and Lord knows doing that legally is harder and harder each day, it's just like, okay, well, they're so different that like you don't really feel that inclined to miss and play it. Oh yeah, again, apologies if I've like triggered anybody by like bringing up the PQ2 special edition. It was one of those ones of like, for the longest time I remember joking about, because like they couldn't sell them at first, like they were in stock for months after its release, and actually, I think January of last year was around the time I noticed they were starting to sell out, and it was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder what'll happen with the price hikes. And anyone who is an Atlus fan will know now, if you want any of those DS games, whether it be SMT, Soul Hackers, Strange Journey Redux, 4, Apocalypse, Persona Q, Q2, they've all just super duper skyrocketed in price. RIP if you want a copy of Soul Hackers, for God's sakes. Alright, so that is the first bit of speculation. The other one, Persona Q collection, as I mentioned, just do one as it is. You don't gotta change anything. Enjoy it there. Give us those fancy graphics. We already know HD models exist for pretty much a third of all of those characters anyway. Q2, same thing. Just bring it to more systems. Put it in a collection. Give English voice acting. The fact that Persona Q2 got no English voice acting when literally everyone who worked on that game wanted it to have an English voice acting cast is kind of a huge slap in the face, especially when the only reason it didn't get a voice acting in English was because we are releasing a 3DS game in 2019. So then it just goes, okay, so you're just trying to make this game feel as much as humanly possible. And then finally, the other one, and this one is super, super not exciting, but just release like Persona 3 in whatever version you want. Hopefully portable is my pick, and Golden. Do that on consoles. Golden came out last year on Steam and just absolutely destroyed, because guess what? If you have a series that is pretty much exclusive to most people and they don't have a way of accessing it, easily playing it at least, it's going to be popular. Are you going to see those numbers every time you port it? Definitely not. It's not going to sell 500,000 copies in a summer on Switch. It's not going to like sell 1 million on PlayStation 4 or 5. But just have it out there. Like release it as a combo pack, like do it $20 each, or like a physical version $4.40 at bundles in P3 and 4. Give people those options. Make these games more accessible. Don't have it just be, I have the one system that plays the one game and then a couple of spin-offs. But yeah, that is kind of it for my speculations and everything. Thank you all for coming to the panel. I know it was a little bit on the short side, but I mean, it's one of those things of like, hey, it's a thing that I want to talk about. It's a thing I'm really passionate about, but it goes to it of like, man, we're a third of the way into this year, and we still have like no idea what's really here to come. Let me know if you all are really excited about anything in particular from Atlus, whether it be merchandise. I see someone mention the Persona 5 Royal Vinyl. What are you most looking forward to? What are you most looking forward to either getting soon, getting announced? Is there anything you're worried? Anything you don't want to see? Anything you think might be a left field? Like, what's going to be... Here's like a good question. What's going to be the Catherine Full Body on Switch of 2021? Like, Catherine Full Body on Switch last year is one of those releases that I feel like if I told Atlus fans happened, if you didn't pick it up, or even if you did, there's a chance you might have forgot that even happened. Which is kind of sad, because I love Catherine, but that Switch port was like, nobody asked for it, nobody bought it, and it still gets bargain binned pretty quickly. Like, I bought a copy on Black Friday for like $20 brand new. It was one of those things like, it's cool that they ported it, but it's also like, in a year of other ports people were begging for, Catherine Full Body was sadly not the port, but hey, at least it's one of those rare ports that had no major technical problems. Also, thank you in chat for mentioning... thank you in chat for mentioning Miitomo. Miitomo coming to Switch proves that 3DS ports are viable. That is very, very cute. It did give us Catherine, but also some people might say Catherine might be one of the more kind of hit or miss parts of Catherine Full Body, but that's its own conversation. I'm also still just salty because Atlus was a big bunch of meanies and did not release Catherine Full Body on the Vita in the West, but they did give it to us on Switch, which is not the same thing. But that's just me. Had to import it. I get it. Not a big deal. But yeah, thank you all for coming to the panel. If you have any questions for me at all or anything else you want to say, this is kind of the chance to do it. If not, thank you all for this very, very kind of fast 30-minute panel. I hope it was either enlightening or informative, or at the very least gave you a thought of saying, oh my god, this guy does this every week and someone listens. Yes, apparently people listen, and if you are one of those people who listen to my podcast, thank you very much. I appreciate it so much. If you hopped into it mid podcast or whatever the heck we're calling it, it is Shin Megami Tensei Network. You can check it out that way. However you would like. Watch it on YouTube, all that fun stuff. Somebody donated during this? Oh my gosh. Demi Curry, you donated during this and I wasn't even able to see. Thank you for the $2, which he says, because nobody remembers Persona 1 and 2. I can't believe somebody donated during the panel, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Thank you so much. I do not deserve your money, but I love you nonetheless. And I love everyone watching at Naka-Kon. I hope your panels is going great. Oh my gosh, Rick, I'm the worst at, like, promotion. I can't tell you. I've been doing this for, like, almost a decade. I'm actually, like, the worst promoting, but I will try to remember to plug that in there. Thank you all, again, so much for coming. Thank you all for being Atlus fans. Thank you all for watching. Thank you, once again, for the $2 super chat that somebody was kind enough to bring in here. I hope you all are enjoying the rest of your panel. The Digimon panel is still going on, so if you want to hop into that, I might even go in there. I just, maybe just be mean and see how long it takes for them to talk about Cyber Sleuth games or Digimon Survive. That's just me. Enjoy the rest of your convention. Enjoy, everyone. Thank you to the awesome staff at Naka-Kon for letting me not only host this panel, but also host the visual novel for beginners panel. It was such a blast. I miss all of you. I wish I could see you all in Kansas and we could all be wondering, oh my god, that guy's really close to me, even though with that mask, it's very weird. Like, just thinking about, like, man, I miss anime conventions, but I bet we all have no idea how uncomfortable we will be once they are finally back. But hey, you know what? I'm ready to get uncomfortable just because I miss being social, but we gotta wait till everybody's healthy for that. No one wants to end on a bummer, so we're not gonna end on a bummer. Fun little news for anyone who's stuck around here. If you do want to follow me on Twitter at SMT Network, I will be doing a giveaway soon. I have a couple of giveaways lined up for like the next 3 weeks. I've got various different Persona stuff I have to give away. So if you would like, you can jump onto that Twitter, follow there. There should be news hopefully Monday for the next Persona giveaway. So if you like free stuff, you have a pretty good chance of winning. I promise I'm not that popular online. So yeah, that is it. Free stuff. Just got to follow on Twitter at SMT Network. But once again, thank you all so much for popping on. Have a great rest of your convention. And I'm giving you all a very big and probably cringy virtual hug, but thank you all once again. Have a good convention. Bye, 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 bye. I'm waving. You can't see me, but I'm waving. And thank you all on YouTube for watching, you beautiful people. This was a short panel. Oh my gosh, who was here? Hitamura, Jonga, Joe, Matthias. We got like 18 people in here? My god. Hollow, Sasquatch and Eyes, Joe, Hito, Ghost Echo, Demicro, thank you again. Anime for the win. Vorp, Samuel. Y'all just popped in here being all awesome. Thank you. Killamo, Coogan, you all are amazing. This was a very weird kind of panel-y podcast, but I appreciated the love nonetheless. So thank you all. And yeah, I'm going to just say goodbye. Have a good one. This is going to be the podcast. You all got it kind of early. But yeah, that was the panel. Hopefully it wasn't too bad or weird. But if anyone has anything they want to say before I end the YouTube stream, now is your time. Because this was pretty short. But again, had to do something. Wanted to talk to everybody. Check out chat really quick. Oh my gosh, yeah. Persona Origins with SMTF would be cool, but like I think the only, and obviously they'd never do this, but Persona Origins would be like you have to play through you have to play through Persona 1, 2, both 2 games, and then if you beat all 3, you unlock If as like a bonus game. That would be like the only way it works. Oh, yes, please, God, please have all of these ports be... Please let all of these ports be physically as well. Debbie, you had a question. What would take longer to load? P5R Switch or P5S? Actually, P5R would probably load faster just because P5S is running so much more on, like, under the hood that I think Royal would actually be pretty good. Woof. I don't know what has been up with my cough today. It's not even really a cough. It's just more of like got like the grumbles or whatever. How about some sticker tattoos, Demi Feast? That's like I love that idea, but that seems like something that would be like Atlus of 20 years. Like that would have been like a PS2 pre-order bonus if Atlus had the budget back then. I don't think they would do that now, but God, I would love just to have like even like a tongue tattoo for Demi Feed would be just so dumb and stupid, but I'd love it. But yeah, that's pretty much just about it. Thank you all on YouTube for watching. You all are awesome. I love you. Thanks for watching. Thanks for checking out the stream. Damien Crow, thank you once again for the super chat. Did not expect that at all. Regular podcast will be not next week because I did this. Everything's kind of out of order of how I was doing it all, so expect maybe 2 editorials next week to make up for no normal podcast, but I'll be talking about stuff. This will hopefully give me a lot more time to talk about Strikers, which I'm still pummeling my way through, so do not worry. I've not forgotten about all of you. Check out the channel if you're enjoying it. Spencer Presley on YouTube or Shin Megami Tensei. Just search it up online. You should be able to find us. See you all later. Have a good rest of your weekend. I love you all. Goodbye.